Welcome to the More People podcast. I'm your host, Richard Hanwell, Managing Director for More People. I'm thrilled on this episode to be joined by Amy Stubbs. Welcome, Amy.
Hello.
Amy, if you'd be so kind as just to introduce yourself, your business, your role, please.
Yeah, so I'm Amy Stubbs from British Garden Centres. We're the largest family-owned garden centre group in the UK. And my role is Project and Development Manager. So I work across various departments within our business and kind of move the business forward.
And you certainly have moved it forward. There to say. Can you give me a bit of an overview as to how you kind of got involved in the horticultural side, the garden centre world, and why you followed that kind of family tradition?
With it being a family business, I was brought up around it. So even when I was 13, 14, weekends, Dad was at work, I tagged along with him. So I was always around it. I definitely enjoyed kind of the environment of it. When I was at school, I definitely took a keen interest in business and kind of at A-levels that carried on through. Then once I finished my A-levels, I kind of decided that I'd done enough kind of desk time learning and I wanted to kind of get out and get on my feet, which was then fortunate enough to go and work with some experience at Westland. So spent some time in their marketing department, which I really enjoyed. I've really enjoyed the industry. I found it was like really friendly and like there was always people there that even if you didn't know the answers, they'd help you through it. And I guess I saw what my dad did and my stepmom's does, and I guess I was like, yeah, I do want to be part of that.
So what year did you get involved in the business?
When I was 19, I took my first role, which was in the nursery growing side, which I'm 26 this year. So,
So just from pre-COVID?
Pre-COVID, yeah.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah.
I guess what COVID did was it shined a massive light on garden centres, right?
Definitely,
I mean, for a period of time, Boris said that's one of the only places we could actually go,
exactly,
right?
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, it kind of felt like this was a bit of a new era for garden centres.
Yeah.
If you go back to those times, you had, I think, roughly 10 centres.
Yeah.
You're now plus 70?
73, yep.
That is an amazing amount of expansion. Where did that vision come from?
It's funny, actually, because when the other day I was sat watching a kind of ITV Rising Star thing that was done back in like Dad's era. And he went on that, and it was a like kind of basically great entrepreneurship business. Okay. And he said in that kind of interview, he said at that point that he wanted to become a national garden centre brand.
Wow.
And I think he always had that vision. He's wanted growth. I think he's seeing the economies of scale would gain, and just really, I think what makes us quite unique is that we are so kind of driven and engaged with the local communities for each centre that I think he just wants to carry on spreading it.
Away from the obvious kind of expansion, because those numbers are so impressive, how would you describe the difference in kind of the garden centre experience or offering, shall we say, in a pre-COVID era to a post-COVID era?
Restaurants have become a much more important part of our business. I think pre-COVID, they were there, they were present. We definitely noticed them as a footfall driver. But since COVID, we were all very nervous how hospitality would pay out. And I think in terms of the rest of hospitality, I think it is potentially struggling. Yes. But I think for us, we're seeing that it's actually massively booming. For some reason, it's kind of, becoming a bigger part, and we're seeing a lot more footfall come from that.
Is the accessibility to chefs easier? Because in my world of looking into it, really good quality chefs are having to work every single Friday night, Saturday night, Christmas Day, etc., etc. And one would assume in many parts the garden centres aren't open during those hours. Does that play a part in being able to bring in that stuff?
No, definitely. We kind of, it's one of our recruitment techniques we use, really, that look, this is a sector where you can come and be a chef. You don't have to work Christmas Day. You don't have to work nights, which is appealing. I think recruitment in certain areas of the country for chefs is really challenging still. And getting consistency from them. I think the challenge with garden centres is we're quite remote, so kind of getting people to us on public transport can be quite challenging.
Yeah. We've discussed a little bit there about the expansion that's happened, but looking further afield, looking into the future, what are the plans?
So I think it is definitely to carry on growing. I think we want to grow our existing sites. I mean, there's so many that have got loads of potential where we can develop them and, make them destination centres, which is definitely one of the aspirations. And then we do want to seek new sites and new acquisitions as well. But I think we've got so much to do as a business. It's so exciting to carry on becoming a well-known brand, becoming that household brand. There's so much opportunity there for us to grow our presence that that's the goal now.
But when we look, like you say, 73 centres is a phenomenal achievement. How do you ensure that each centre has a similar vibe, culture? Because you're saying about the individual communities. How do you ensure that it keeps its independence, but it still has that everyone recognises it's the GC standards?
I think that is probably one of our biggest challenges. Yeah, one of the biggest bits that make us unique, because you would walk into one of our centres and there's consistency with pricing and branding, but then what we try and do is we really try and engage and empower the local teams to kind of take ownership of it themselves. So we're not based on you must put this here and it must look like this. We kind of give them some ownership on how they then deliver what we've asked them to. I think that just gives them that autonomy to kind of carry on pushing forward and driving their centre. They don't kind of see that it's a big chain. I think therefore they then engage with their customers more, and the customers feel like they're getting that personalised experience.
It is an experience.
Yeah, definitely.
Taking the family and the city, good quality food, priced reasonably.
Yeah.
But a garden centre isn't just a garden. You put some steps in some of your sites, right?
Yeah.
Go around and all of the various different offerings. I think that's really key. But it's, to your point there, it's not necessarily an identical blueprint for each site, right?
Yeah.
Each individually dying, right?
Each individual and each kind of suited to their local community. And I think the other bit that we're finding that, it is bringing people together, people that kind of maybe do feel quite isolated and alone come to a garden centre, and they then find somebody else that's kind of in a similar position and make friends. And I think the local people around us feel like they come to us and kind of form part of their own community within it.
You mentioned earlier that you've obviously worked in the overall supply chain of the industry as well. How do we get younger people involved in this industry? Because we've spoken before about the garden centre industry now is like £5 billion. Horticulture industry is mammoth. No one told me about it at school.
No.
I went to school a lot longer ago than yourself. But how do we get more people involved in this?
Yeah, and I think it is building up that awareness, because I think once people realise the opportunities within the industry and they realise what a beautiful industry it is, I think the people that find it fall in love with it. But I think trying to get new people in by making them aware of it, I think there is a bit of a preconception that garden centres are for older people and gardening is for older people. It's not a cool activity. But I do think COVID's done a lot for that, in terms of trying to start to unwind that and make gardening cool and start to become a big thing for younger people. I think the fact that people are now becoming a lot more concerned about their mental health, and how everybody's aware that being outside is great for that.
You don't have to have a massive garden, do you?
No, exactly. Yeah, even if you just had a balcony with some pots on.
I've seen the windowsill gardens.
Gardens. Yeah. So I think it is awareness, and I think we are starting to make inroads. But I think we need some really carry on shouting about our success stories, shouting about bringing how people can develop their careers through. Even myself, being around it my whole life, I never knew there were so many opportunities within the industry, and how you really can kind of do anything within it. So I think the YPHA and what they're doing is really strong and massively helping with that. And I think what that's helping is the people that are young and in the industry, bringing them together. So there is ideas coming out of there that is kind of shouting about it, and again creating kind of a little community
Yeah, I think the work that they're doing is fantastic. We're obviously involved on that side as well, or members of the team. I'm not young enough, unfortunately, but certainly shining a light on what is available.
Yeah.
Because if you talk about a multi-million-pound business with 70 centres, people go, "Oh, of course, there's opportunities in HR, in finance, in sales," and then you put the word garden centre there, and they're like, "Oh, is there?"
Yeah.
But there are a huge amount of opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? How many staff are working?
So we've got about just over 3,000 now.
Wow.
And the range of roles, amongst that it's crazy, and the range of experience. One of the unique bits I feel about our industry is the people. And I think although technology is taking over the world and we are all trying to find efficiencies, and probably the rest of retail is slowly kind of making labour cuts, although we are having to become more efficient, we are quite keen that there's always kind of an important part of making our industry unique is having somebody there who can be spoken to and the customer can engage with, and that's what is part of us.
And also, when you look at other parts of retail, the UK high street has had some tough years, but we've had a lot of success of bringing people from other parts of retail into garden centres as well. Have you found that as well within centres recently?
Yeah, definitely. We're starting to see people move over from the likes where they've worked in supermarkets, etc., and come over into our roles. They then are absolutely blown away with the industry. But again, I don't think the comment we always get is, "Oh, we never realised there was this much to it," or I think they genuinely think that, I don't know, growing plants is a little bit boring, but and it's kind of
potentially easier.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of breaking those views and just carrying on shouting about how amazing it is and bringing those success stories out.
Yeah, superb. On the journey you've been on with the expansion, if you were to do it all again, what would you do differently?
I think probably bringing a bit more of a organised and planned structure to it. With these things, you can never plan them fully.
No,
I think.
No. Hindsight's perfect.
Exactly. But I think probably being a bit organised in the fact of, okay, which we have kind of got to the point now, we are going to grow. These are the things we need. So let's just kind of sort it now. Would have probably helped make some of the transitions slightly easier. I think we've definitely become aware that training is so important, and probably putting in a bit of a slicker training system and programme would probably be another thing that would ease some of the stresses that do.
Is that an emphasis now?
Yeah, definitely. And I think so. And I think because of the size we've got to, I think the systems and processes we were using, we've just completely outgrown. And I think because the growth was so quick, that was the case in a lot of departments, that the way we were doing things, we just outgrew overnight, which, to kind of, we're now in playing catch up and going, no, this isn't fit for purpose, so let's do this. But that's also so exciting because we kind of get to put it in now on what we know would work. So
it evolves over time.
Exactly.
And I guess at times you kind of have to remind yourself of how big you are, because you're very humble people.
Yeah.
But if you really up to play it.
And I think it does make it challenging when, we're trying to keep that family feel. We are a size where we have to have certain processes. So it is a balancing act, which does create some questions at times.
Fun.
Exactly. Fun. That's a good way.
Super. Amy, you've been absolute superstar. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you very much for having me. Thank you.
Cheers.